It's massively different failure rate for a cash flowing business than starting from scratch.
Attention marketers and entrepreneurs, this is Valuetizing, the place where we talk about scaling brands worth promoting. If you're a mission-driven entrepreneur obsessed with creating, scaling, and exiting multi-million-dollar brands, this is for you. My name is Santiago Phoenix, and I am a business growth consultant, online marketer, and investor. I have helped more than 100 7- and 8-figure founders increase profits, claim their time back, and transform the world. Now it's your turn. Welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to Valuetizing. Today our guest is Christine McDannell, a serial entrepreneur, author, and speaker. Christine is the founder and principal business intermediary of the Magnolia firm, a boutique M&A brokerage firm helping business owners achieve the perfect exit. Christine has been recognized with numerous awards throughout the years, such as the Small Business Administration Business Person of the Year and the Entrepreneurs Magazine's 100 Most Brilliant Companies for her first venture, Cleanology. Christine, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Santiago. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I'm very excited. And first of all, I would like for you, in your own words, to describe what do you do? Because I threw a lot of big words there. So how do you explain what you do on a party to someone?
Yeah, so M&A is mergers and acquisitions. So we're on the sell side, meaning we're working with sellers selling their company. And we're guiding them through the process. We're finding them a buyer, and we're getting that money wired into their accounts at the end of the day. And usually it's somebody's largest transaction of their life, essentially. So it's exciting to be part of that journey.
Yes. And one thing that I really like about how you approach things is that you have a lot of education for both sellers and buyers. What made you focus on education and to be like different? Because normally the mergers and acquisition world feels like so corporate and cold, intimidating.
Yeah, no, you're right. We just want to, and I knew that for years. And so I love innovation. If people look at the companies I've built, I was always innovating, creative. That's kind of my creative outlet, is building companies from scratch. And yeah, with the Magnolia firm, you guys can visit our YouTube, any social media channel. We're on all of those. We're helping educate people with business acquisitions. Business acquisitions is getting really sexy right now. Everybody saw the fallout from the startups, the tech startups and all that. And they're difficult to do. And it's even in a time where there was free money floating around all over the place and super high valuations. So now everybody's looking to do cash flowing businesses that are already off the ground.
Can you walk us through an example? What are those type of businesses?
Oh my gosh, we deal mainly with digital businesses around the world. So SaaS software, digital marketing agencies, integration software. So that's kind of our wheelhouse. And again, we'll work with countries and clients in other countries, because again, it's remote based, it's digital. So that's a lot of fun for us.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw one of your interviews that you were talking at a digital nomad event. And of course, you mentioned that you go to Burning Man, and it's like such a different approach from the standard mergers and acquisitions. So for people who, I want to put us in the shoes of the person who might be watching this. So some of them might be marketers working at a company. They might be earning, let's say $5,000 per month. And they have the entrepreneurial bug in them. They're like, I want to make more money, so I'm going to start a business. What would you tell that person? Like, why should they consider acquisitions?
And I know you have people, around the world, listening to this podcast. So I'll speak that, in that sense. So if they're based in the U.S., SBA is a government loan for businesses, try that route first. It's great terms. They're going to do the bulk of the due diligence on the business, make sure it's cash flowing enough to service that loan payment. So you're really only out of pocket, 10%, typically 10 to 20% on an SBA loan. So, which is nice. So you can afford to purchase a larger company. Obviously the things they look for, a decent credit score, I think over 700, experience in the business you're buying. So if you, like you said, if they're working a marketing job in a corporation, in another business, and they're buying a marketing agency, then the SBA loves seeing that you already have experience. I would go that route first. After that, and again, this is on a global level now, is friends and family, angel investors, seeing if the seller will do a loan for you, meaning you're going to make payments to the seller. That's always amazing also, right? And not all sellers, like our sellers, we won't even allow them to do that. Maybe 20% at most, because it's a massive risk for the seller. But as a buyer, if you can get a seller to do, 100% seller financing or 50 or whatever, I mean, that's amazing. And then you come up with the difference in cash. A lot of people are cashing out crypto right now. Well, it's bad right now, but hopefully they already cashed it out. They're getting out of crypto. They're getting out of the stock market. They can pull for their 401k. From their retirement fund. They can pull equity out of their home. So there's just a lot of creative ways somebody can actually buy a business. And you can buy a small one. There's a lot of microsites right now online, different platforms. Microacquire is a great one for, that have smaller businesses for sale. Flippa is on another one, FLIPPA.com.
Thank you. So for that first acquisition, I mean, I've been reading the book by, oh my God, I forgot the name.
Buy Then Build. It's my favorite. Buy Then Build by Walker Dybeld. Yeah.
Yes. And he's really big on buying a big business, hopefully doing at least 7 figures. But for that first acquisition, is that a smart move? Or, I mean, what's more risky? How would you assess the situation?
Oh, for your first, that's massively risky. I don't remember seeing that in his book. Yeah, I would not suggest that at all, to be honest, on your first business. I would start small, learn your lessons. It's the school of hard knocks, when it comes to entrepreneurship. I would not go that big unless you're experienced and you're super confident you could pull it off. Maybe you're bringing in a business partner that already has, experience in business. So yeah, I would start smaller. I mean, you could find businesses for sale for like 10K on those sites I mentioned, 50K, 100K, especially if you don't have cash yet and you can't borrow. Maybe you have, from your corporate job, you've saved some money. Also, to that note, I don't advise people quitting their corporate job right out the gate. I would wait a little bit on that, especially if you buy a business that already has like some employees or contractors in place and it's running pretty smoothly. Try not to jump ship like day one. You're going to lose your benefits and all that stuff.
Yes, but so normally acquisitions is at least it's promoted as something safer than starting a business. In your experience, is that true?
Oh, very much so. So the SBA has a great stat. And again, they're really strict on what businesses people can buy. But it's only a 2% failure rate out of, 100% for them. And again, they're doing pretty deep due diligence. But, it's massively different failure rate for a cash flowing business than starting from scratch.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw that, for example, PayPal was acquired, same as Tesla.
What do you mean by acquired?
Like Elon Musk didn't start it from scratch, but some of these big companies many times were just purchased.
Yeah, he started PayPal from scratch with a couple business partners, and then it was acquired. I think it might have been called something different before when they started it. And then you're right about Tesla. He took it over from somebody else, which a lot of people don't know that.
That's interesting. All right. So I've seen a lot of programs that promote no money out of pocket deals. Is that real or a myth in your experience? Like, I'm not talking about no money down, but no money out of the buyer's pocket.
Yeah, no, that's the 100% seller financing I mentioned. So that's not any of your own business the seller is giving you the loan and you're not putting down a dime. So those aren't super common, I'll be honest. And I know there's a lot of like industry, like influencers and people in this acquisition space that are of course selling expensive masterminds, right? And expensive online programs saying, oh, no money down. Like it's super easy. It's not, and especially in a seller's market right now, it might become easier if the tides shift, but right now it's a little more rare. So that's zero money out of pocket, zero down situation.
Interesting. So, like, can you give us a little, like, why these people want to sell their businesses? Because, for example, I was looking at your current listings, and one of the business there, it looked like an amazing business. It had cash flow. The founders were working like 10 hours per week. It has predictable revenue growth. Why?
So we're a unique boutique firm in the sense that we're super hands-on. I mean, my entire, my business partner I just brought on, my entire team, myself, my sellers can get a hold of us. They have it routes to all of our cell phone numbers. They want to call us on the weekend. They want to call us on the holidays. My favorite saying is deals don't sleep. Like even when I travel, I'll get up in the middle of the night and I'll make sure I'm on, a seller pitch interview. So, ours are like A++ businesses for sale. We turn away probably 98% of people that approach us to sell their business. So it's just the cream of the crop businesses that we have for sale. And so those sellers are wanting to sell majority because they have a new venture they're excited about. These are the entrepreneurs that are the startup entrepreneurs. They love building something from scratch, taking it to, $1 million, $3 million annual revenues. And then by then it takes a completely different skill set to take it from that point on, right? And they might need to raise capital to scale it quicker. And at that point, they're like, hey, Christine, hey, the Magnolia firm, like I'm ready. I'm already starting my new adventure, ready to take some money off the table and sell my company. So that's what they do. And again, it's a seller's market. So we're taking them to market real quick. We have an amazing social media firm agency we're about to bring on that's cash flowing like over $8,000 a year, or $800,000 a year. It's going to go to market at about 4.5 million. And we have another like hubs, actually cybersecurity company coming online here in a couple weeks. And that's another hot one. So just really strong cash flowing businesses.
That's amazing. So it's not the typical like boring business of buy a laundromat.
No, that's another thing I'm contrarian on. So I've owned a cleaning company. I've owned boring businesses also, right? And they're hard. So again, I know like, buy a boring business. They're hard. And again, everybody wants the sexy business, of course, but a laundromat, that's so physical. It's brick and mortar. You can't move. You can't have freedom. Employees quit, machines break. So that's I don't know what's going on with that trend right now. I think, again, cash flowing digital businesses that are remote. People might not want to live, by their brick and mortar business forever. They might want to move on the other side of the world. So again, that's my opinion. I'm sure people will say something different.
I love that because, as a digital nomad, that's very appealing to me. But I mean, what I've heard is that this type of boring businesses, they are recession proof. So I don't know, do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
It's funny. I just spoke to this morning in another forum I was leading, and first off, my team knows we can't say the R words at all. So no recession. It's been looming forever. The media loves scaring people. Again, is the tide going to switch? Yeah, it always does at some point. But I don't want us to be, working from a scarcity mentality, like recession. So we don't say it internally. It's hard to say what business necessarily, I guess a laundromat would be recession proof. People got to still wash their clothes. But to be honest, they might wear their clothes a little bit longer before they go wash them too, right? So I feel like it's hard to say what business is recession proof and what's not. I had a house cleaning company during 2008. Right? It was cash flowing well. This is the other advantage of a cash flowing business is that you can weather the storm. If you're a startup pre-revenue, you're like done for. You can't raise capital anymore. You can't, sell, get off the ground. So I had a cleaning company during '08 and we grew 10% '08, '09, right? You just shift your strategy and everybody, and back then house cleaning was definitely a luxury, right? So it's, we grew. So I don't believe in that word necessarily. And I definitely don't believe in we need to buy a recession proof business because it gets a little tricky.
Interesting. So when you say you don't believe in the word or concept of recession, what do you mean by that?
Not so much the concept. It's the real word. It's a real concept. Or I just don't believe in saying it, talking about it, worrying about it. That burns your energy. You spend your energy on how are we going to kick ass? Hopefully I can cuss on here during this freaking recession. I put the pedal to the metal again during '08. I knew about 6 months prior, I just felt it. I was like, oh my God, something's going to happen. So 6 months prior, I took my P&L, my profit and loss statement, and I sliced and diced every expense that we didn't necessarily need. We were spending $1,000 a month on cell phones for all the cleaning, staff. And I'm like, look, girls, let me take this $1,000 bill and why don't I just give you guys extra cash, use your own cell phone. Everybody was cool with that. So then my it was $200 a month, not $1,000. So it's focus on how you're going to kick butt during that. Not scared, not watching the news. I don't watch the news. Sometimes I accidentally come across it online because it's in my face. But I really rarely watch the news. And there's been some big things that have happened recently. And I felt a little guilty because I was like, wait, what happened with the earthquake in Turkey? And what happened with this train wreck spill in Ohio? I just was out of the loop. But at the same time, I'm focusing on growing my firm.
I love that. Yeah, I saw a video that you created about the Silicon Valley Bank. Which is not something I want to go deep in, but there's definitely a lot of fear right now, fear mongering, but I guess also investors say buy when there's blood on the street. Would you agree with that?
Oh, without a doubt. And then when the tide moves out, you see everybody that was naked. Warren Buffett quote, the people that weren't wearing any clothes. So the other advantage during the recession, a huge advantage, and why I put the pedal to the metal and why I started spending more marketing is because you grab market share so quick. Because my competitors went out of business, they're hiding under the covers, they're watching the news, and I just jammed. I was like, here we go, and I love it. I'm what they call a wartime general. I freaking love that part versus a peacetime where everything's calm and easy and free money. And so I love that time. I prefer it. I actually build better companies during those times, to be honest, with bigger exits because I weathered the storm. So that's my big advice to everybody listening is just you're going to kick butt and you're going to grab that market share. Your competitors are going to shut down, and then you see the people that were trying to fake it till they made it. And then that didn't work out because they're like, uh-oh, trouble.
Interesting. Do you miss that? Because now you have a brokerage firm. I guess it's a very long cycle. And how was that transition from being a CEO of your own companies to being more of an investor?
No. I'm still a CEO. I'm still a founder of the Magnolia firm. So I'm back in another startup, even though I swore I was not going to do another startup. But again, there was just this massive gap in this industry, wide open. Almost overnight. We're only 16 months in and we're already getting amazing business intermediaries, amazing brokers from other firms begging to come work for us. So we're starting to onboard, within 5 years, we'll have 60 intermediaries that are doing deals, underneath. I brought on a business partner recently so that, he can help me scale. He's amazing. So, I'm in the mix. I'm in the startup. When I was doing it to begin, when I first started, I was the advisor on the sidelines of like helping transactions. I wasn't really creating a startup again. Yeah. And then now we're building a massive firm. So yeah, I'm in it. I'm excited. Actually, business sales, believe it or not, they actually increased during recession because people are pulling their money out of these volatile situations of stocks and crypto and whatnot. So we'll do fine. And again, I'll put the pedal to the metal, of course, and my competitors, maybe some of them will retire out or kind of give up. So, and let me explain this real quick for your listeners. It's pretty interesting. So a lot of our buyers are first-time business owners, and which is exciting. And so they got a taste of freedom during COVID, massive freedom, work from home, make your own hours, etc. And they went back to corporate now. They went back to the office. They went back to the commute. And they're just like over it. They're like, whoa. Like, we don't want this anymore. And so those are the ones coming to us. They're leaving corporate and they're embarking on this amazing journey of business acquisitions.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I saw a testimonial that you have from a designer. I think she was working at a job and she bought her first business with you.
Yeah. So a lot of times, again, we're on the seller side mainly. We're launching like a buy side division so we can help people find their perfect business. So, because that's kind of a separate thing altogether. And yeah, but then these people are first time buyers, they're unrepresented. So they don't have any counsel, anybody on their side helping them through the process, which is totally fine. So then I run both sides of the transaction and, I just teach them the steps and it works really well. So yeah, the majority, we're actually holding their hands through the entire process.
All right. So you gave some ideas of how they can actually fund the deal. So it would be like basically a mixture of seller finance, loans, SBN loans, and personal credit.
In general, yes. But on our side, again, I'm working for the seller, so I'm definitely going to protect their interests, the terms, etc. Then the buyer comes in, they're fine with those terms, they agree with the terms, and then I'm like assisting them in the rest of the transaction. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Would you like a custom plan to scale your business? If you want to increase profits without adding more complexity to your life, go to myplantoscale.com and get our free scaling guide right now. It will help you get clear on your business and life goals, ensure your business is optimized for growth, and simplify your schedule so you can focus on what truly matters, making more money while enjoying life and changing the world. Now, back to the show.
So do you think passion should matter when acquiring a business? What I mean is, at least as a millennial, I was sold the idea that being an entrepreneur is being like an influencer. But you are working with different types of industries, like you mentioned, cybersecurity, all of these things. Should passion be a big decision criteria when acquiring a business?
Yeah, I'll talk on both those points. So passion, and then I'm also going to talk on the influencer thing. So I know it is so sad. I mean, where are you located, Santiago? I forgot to ask.
In Portugal.
Perfect. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm speaking on a global level, and I travel a lot and live in other countries. But I'm in the U.S. right now. In the U.S., it's very unfortunate. If you ask kids right now, the number one thing they want to be when they grow up, it's not policeman, it's not a doctor. It is now an influencer or YouTube star, which is super sad. I would love for that to change to I want to buy a business, and maybe we'll get there, right? And so, which would be amazing. So to the passion part, yes, by far, I do think it's important. Was it my passion? And my cleaning company was my first business I started in 2003, and that's why I kind of refer back to that one. Was it my passion? Cleaning was not my passion. And even though I had to do it for a year and a half straight while I was bootstrapping the company, but innovation was my passion. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm so passionate about creating the coolest cleaning company. It's still around too. It's called Cleanology. And I want to be pet friendly and use eco-friendly cleaning products. And we showed up in lab coats. It was really rad. That was my passion. So I think you guys having a passion to innovate, having a passion for whatever industry you're getting into is massive. That's the only thing that's going to get you through the hard times. I've seen it time and time again. I mentor, business owners, entrepreneurs, teenagers. I'm really big on mentorship, and yeah, that's important.
So it's more like not necessarily super passionate about the service or product, but about the idea of building something, right?
Yes, one or the other or both.
All right. And I want to to go to the story about Richard Branson, because that was how I found about you. Is one of your proudest moments. So can you briefly walk us through how did that happen and how did it impact your career?
Yeah, and for anybody that wants to read the whole thing, and there's some great videos in there, video clips of me telling the story from day one, because I've followed him forever. It's on my LinkedIn, so it's under the post or the article section on LinkedIn. You can learn about the one in Santiago. I think that's where you found it, correct?
Yes, on LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. So long story short, he's been my idol forever. I've read every single book he's written, and forever, 20 years at least. And so, because he has fun and he owns all these companies and he's just always happy and fulfilled. You just can tell, right? Yes. And so, he had spoke here in San Diego about 8 years ago. I made sure I was front. I got there an hour early. I made sure I sat in the front, and I had a small check to give to his charity. I was bootstrapped then with my spa. So I was like, okay, I put my business card with it with my phone number. With my business phone number, and ran up to the stage right when he finished, grabbed his arm, handed it to him, was like, Richard, you're my favorite, I'm your all-time fan. I love what you're doing. Thank you for everything you do. And I ran off. That's it. I ran. And so, cause I just didn't want to take up his time. And it was sad. Everybody in the audience was asking him for stuff. Nobody was giving him anything. They were asking, can you sign my book? Can you loan me money? It was kind of quite sad. But so I did that. He calls my office number, and my team routed it to my car. I know. I was driving back. He called 30 minutes later, and my office manager was like, "Oh my gosh, Christine, I've got Richard Branson's assistant is on the phone," and I had to pull off the car, pull off to the side of the road. God. And she's like, "Hey, I have Richard Branson on the other line, the assistant. Can I transfer him in to you?" I was like, "Of course." So he talked to me for 10 minutes, was so kind and grateful. And again, it was a small check. It was $1,000, not a big deal. And I always remembered that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something really cool. And I'm going to write a check with 2 extra zeros on it, $100,000. But I did not have that at all, and Jim Carrey kind of tells that story where he did something similar. He wrote a check to himself for $10 million. He looked at it all the time. So I wrote a real check from the business. I put it in the break rooms of both my locations so the girls could see it every day. I put it on my desk. I put it in my bedroom, 4 different checks, Virgin Unite. And so I'm big on manifesting, and it works, right? Because I was like, how am I ever going to donate that? I mean, that's a lot of money, right? For me even. So back then, especially. So I think it was a year and a half or maybe less. I sold the company, and I was like, oh my God, I can cut this check. I'm so excited. So I reached out, emailed, and then, I was just the only thing I ask is if I can hand this to you in person, just 10 minutes, hand it to you, run off again. Because he always thought that was funny. He's like, nobody's handed me a check and ran off. So I'm like, hey, I'm the girl that ran off. Because this was by then it was maybe 3 years later, 4 years from when I had given the first check. And so he goes, well, I'm not in the US until beginning of next year. And I'm like, and for tax reasons too, I needed to give it before the end of the year. I'm like, Richard, I will fly anywhere in the world to just hand this check to you. So he's like, well, I'm going to be in Paris next week. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming. And my friends were like, oh my God, you're going to fly all the way to Paris just to hand him a check. And then that's it. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. And then he had invited me to breakfast at the last minute. So I got to sit with him and the CEO of Virgin Unite and sit there and ask him, just talk to him. I read her book. I know for an hour. It was crazy to be sitting. I mean, it wasn't surreal because, again, I'm like a manifester, so I always see this stuff in my head. So even on the flight out there, none of it was surreal because I kind of already played it in my head. I was just like, I even checked in with myself. I'm like, Christine, why is this not surreal? It's just normal. It felt normal. And I talked about crypto. And again, this is 2017. I want to like, hey, what are your thoughts on crypto? Hey, who's your favorite? Who do you look up to? Who do you, like? And he said, Brian of Airbnb. Chesky, and he's friends with him, of course. He loves, Airbnb and how that was built, and he likes Brian. So I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? He talked about going to space. And he said he was going to go within 6 months. That's the one time he got stressed. It was interesting seeing a billionaire get visibly stressed. He was like, because I asked about space and Virgin Galactic, and he said that, he goes, it is literally taken twice as amount of time and twice as much money as I ever would imagine. It's very stressful. And he said we should be going into space in 6 months. And you guys know it just happened last year, but I'm so glad he got to go up. I'm so glad and proud of him. Like, I don't know. He just breaks barriers, and it's so impressive. But yeah, that's the whole story.
Imagine that level of worries. I mean, it's like, I want to take us to the space.
I know, right? And Elon too, that's another idol of mine. I just love people that think really big and they're super passionate about what they do. Like, look how many hours he works. He sleeps in the office. He doesn't have a mansion. He doesn't have fancy cars. Elon doesn't. He just loves making a difference in the world that people will remember forever. And so Elon never really looks stressed. And then he's always making jokes on Twitter, which I love. I'm never on Twitter, but I will only go on to read Elon's tweets because it's like a 12-year-old is tweeting half the time. He just says whatever he wants. And I love that too. I love people that are so authentic and they say whatever they want. And if they cuss a lot like Gary Vee, then they cuss a lot. Like, they're being authentic. It doesn't bother me. I sat in on a conference with Gary Vee, and the organizer said he couldn't say a single cuss word. And it was so inauthentic, his talk, because you could see him holding back, right?
Yeah.
Because he's so used to speaking that way.
So I'm very curious, this moment, it seems like it really, your purpose became contribution, right? Because right now you have on your website that the big mission is to handle a $1 million check.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a sarcastic or comedian. I love shock factor or just doing crazy stuff. I just love that I could say, hey, Richard, I got another check with 2 zeros on it. And he's like, what the heck? And then I told him at breakfast, and then he blogged about it everywhere. It was so fun, but I'll do it. And he said, when his blog, he said, she says she'll cut the next check for $1 million. There's no doubt in my mind she'll do it. So that's super inspirational that he's hey, he believes I can do it. I better do it. And so, yeah, our firm is on board. I'm on board. So, I can't cut those checks without my team. And that was the part I left out. And again, the video clip is on the blog and it's on YouTube of him. The one thing I thought about the last minute breakfast, I'm like, Richard, can you please just do a super quick thank you video off my phone to my team? Because without those 37 women working their butts off at Eco Chateau, there's no way I could have wrote that check. So same with my firm now, we're so excited and on board to cut the check, as fast as we can to him. I'm at the 5-year mark right now. I didn't think it would take this long. So I got a little derailed with my tech startup for 3 years. And so that exit wasn't enough to cut the check, but I'll do it. I think by next year, I'm pretty confident by next year.
So you just kind of dream about these things and you make it happen.
Oh, yeah, it's on my vision board. And here's another fun tip. I made this up, you guys, but all my friends do it now. It's called shower goals. So my vision board has always been laminated and in my shower for over a decade. I changed every year because you're in the shower, you're going to see it every single day. And you're in the shower doing something so mindless that it gives your brain and your subconscious opportunity to kind of see your vision board and get it. I don't know. Your subconscious works on it. My other hack is I put a screenshot on your phone on the lock screen. You see your phone a bazillion times a day, right? So on my lock screen is usually one big goal. And then, I'll get them. I've gotten 3 in a row. It's crazy. Like my dream car was on there for 15 months. I got it. It was the exact same color scheme, which was a super rare color scheme. And then the next one was a travel, because I'm like, sold my company, cut the check, got my dream car. What's next? And maybe something not so superficial. And so it was travel. It was like a little drawing of travel, and it was like Big Ben, it was Eiffel Tower, and some other landmarks around the world. I legit was on a plane ride. I was traveling through Europe. I was on the plane from Paris to London, and I look, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the Eiffel Tower and Big Ben. I was like, this is so crazy. Yeah. And so when I get it, I switch it to something else. And so I that's my best hack for everybody listening, is put your number one goal that really gets you excited and motivated to wake up early and to go through all the drama, on your phone.
Do you struggle with focus? Because being a multi-passionate person and knowing exactly where to focus on?
Not at all. So for my mentor, God, it's probably been 12 years. So I take, and I have it right here. So I have like a notepad, old school notepad, legal pad. And I actually write down everything I'm working on by the minute. So once I switch gears to another project, something else I'm doing, like this podcast, I'll put from 10 a.m. right now. And then once we finish, I'll put, whatever time we finish. And then I go to the next thing. And I've only got like a couple things on the top of the paper that, I need to try to complete today. It's definitely been busy. We have our largest deal is closing today, which we're so excited. It's the seller's birthday, which is like an extra bonus, and he's really excited. And so we've got that going on. We're launching 2 to 3 more clients right now. It's been pretty wild, but I love that. I'm a very organized person. I like a lot of plates spinning at the same time. I work well under pressure. So yeah, I don't have a problem staying focused. I get what needs to be done for sure.
I love that. Wow. I wasn't expecting all of that, but that's what I enjoy the most about this podcast. It's not just so like the technical stuff, acquisitions, but we actually get to know you and some of the keys about your success, because you have achieved pretty amazing things.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it, Santiago. And again, I always want to give value for whoever's listening, right? Just some tips, tricks I've learned along the way of like 20 years of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So if you let's say if you were 20 again and knowing what you know right now, what are some top things that you would have done differently in your entrepreneurial journey?
Ooh, great question. And I think I got asked this before, and it always stumps me. So first, I'll say I wouldn't change a thing, because it's kind of, and I know people have heard of the butterfly effect, right? Like one tiny, tiny change would have it's changed everything up to this point. And I love, where I'm at. I love what I've gone through, good, bad, all that stuff. I always like to say hire. This is one. I always make the same mistake. I think I've finally stopped making this mistake. My favorite quote is hire slow, fire fast, especially the fire fast part. I hate firing people. And I've hired so many people, hundreds of people over my career. And I do not like firing. It is extremely difficult. The only time it's easy is if they lied or stealed. Then I'm happy to fire them. Zero problem doing that. Other than that, it's very difficult for me. So I put it off, and it caused massive issues. Massive. One of them, I didn't fire her. I put it off my cleaning company. And she was such a poison. She was negative. That's why I was going to fire her. She poisoned the entire team, got everybody to quit. Actually, I saved part of the team, but 12 people quit in one day because she did this anyway, it was crazy. It's so crazy. And I'm standing there, and you have 17 people in front of you saying they're going to quit if you don't give them a raise. And that doesn't work for me. I'm not going to just be bullied, right? They'll keep doing it. So 12 of them quit. I was left with 5. But if I would have fired her 3 months earlier, like I was supposed to, that wouldn't have happened. So that's my biggest advice and regret.
So now that you mentioned that in service-based businesses, at least to me, it seems like one of the biggest risks are people. Like people could just leave. And they are a big part of the value of the company. Is there any way to deal with that fear or that risk?
Buy a company with less employees. So that's the magic about these digital businesses, right? Is they have very few employees. So many of them, very few, like 5 or whatever. You think you're going to make the same revenue on a laundromat with 5 employees? Absolutely not. Or cleaning or whatever service. You're just not on any kind of brick and mortar. So, and employees are very difficult to manage, to keep happy. Again, we have a rock star team. I love my team. I'm not talking about my team, but yeah, I think that's why the wave is going to these digital businesses, because the multiples are higher, smaller teams making tons of money.
Yeah, definitely. Just like one of the last questions, but can you walk us through the Rapid Acquisition Club? Because I think it's so new, so refreshing. How does it work?
Oh, I would love to. Thanks for asking. And that's our new initiative. We finally went live a couple weeks ago, ran our first one. It went so well. So what we do is and nobody that I'm aware of is doing this. We bring on, and I see it in the startup world all the time when they try to raise capital, and I even participated in it, whether it was live or online. So online, we bring on a few founders that are about to put their business up for sale. They're thinking about it. They're not on market, so it's called a pocket listing or like a pre-listing. It's off market, which is great. And then they're usually unrepresented. Well, they are, unless they want to use us. The buyer and themselves can figure that out. Otherwise, the buyer could do the deal real quick, and that's where the word rapid comes from. Like, we put them on a Zoom. It's like they present a slide deck in about 7 minutes. The seller does. And then the buyers are on there, and it's kind of, we call it a friendly Shark Tank. So people are asking questions in real time. Everybody's sitting in there. There's people that are, they just want to learn about business acquisitions. So they're in the club, it's just $250 a month, $250. I see people charging $50,000 for masterminds that don't include this. So it's very reasonable price, and they can just sit in and listen. And we do them every about 3 weeks. Is what we're clocking right now. We say once a month, but I think we can even over deliver on that. And we say it'll be one founder. The last one we had 3 different types of businesses, e-com, digital, just across the, I just want to kind of give like a broader basis of different, people are interested in different things. And and then we put them in contact with each other, and they can do the deal on their own, or the seller can have us advise. Either way. So that's Rapid Acquisition Club. So you guys can find it on our website. But yeah, it's a really cool initiative. And any listings we're about to list, we shoot them over early to the members. Like the ones we just signed up, we're going to tell them real quick, hey, these we just signed, the business is probably going to sell quick. If you want to grab it now, let us know.
Yeah, and you also sometimes represent the seller, right? Like you do the pitch for them.
Like on the actual pitch, we let them pitch, but I'll chime in and ask some questions myself because I'm facilitating the meeting. And then, if they need us to facilitate the transaction, we will.
Awesome. Yeah. Wow. I love it. So finally, I think you need to give us a moment with Broker Bob.
Oh, yeah. No, you guys can check them out on our social media. It's just I always want to be entertaining. I did improv in high school. I love it. And it came so natural. It's I put on this old man costume that I bought off Amazon. And all of a sudden I had this Southern accent, old man. I don't even know where it came. It's funny. It was immediate. And most of those I don't even practice. I just say them. It's a one take situation because they're legit true stories of what I'm seeing, from brokers. Again, I don't like that name. I'm an intermediary. I'm an M&A advisor, but the old school brokers, this is the stuff they're teaching. This is the stuff they're saying. I've even done clips that I'm probably going to get in trouble for, where I'm kind of I made a little skit, a couple months ago, and then I'm on a webinar with one of these broker bobs. They will remain nameless, and I clip them together. He literally said word for word a little skit I made a couple months ago. I almost fell over. And it just had to do with responding to inquiries. When a buyer inquiry comes in from one of our listings, we are on it. We are calling. We are texting. We are emailing immediately. So he said, don't do that. Don't waste the time. He's like, just email them. I'm like, well, that's going to get lost in the inbox. Like, why don't you have their phone number? Why don't you call? Why don't you text? And he said that, and I was blown away. That's just not fair to your seller if you're half-assing handling inquiries. And one time, and he said the ones that come in the middle of the night, ignore, they're not serious. They're either drunk or on drugs. That's word for word. I fell out of my chair. He's probably in his 70s, I think. So I was like, the millennials, they are on they're looking for businesses in the middle of the night. They're not drunk or sober. And honestly, I think we've sold businesses to people that inquired in the middle of the night. We take those just as seriously.
Yeah, I think that also comes because you are an entrepreneur, and also it's a boutique firm, it's high touch, so it's pretty different from just going to Flip or these massive sites, right?
Exactly.
All right, Christine, thank you so much. Where can people find more about you?
LinkedIn, just like you found me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is best. I'm very active on there. Feel free to message me any questions. And then again, we're on we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. YouTube's really great too, because we're putting more long form videos on there. So we'll interview our sellers to kind of get their story of how the transaction went. I'll do some educational stuff on there. My previous interviews are on there for other podcasts. So, SBA, we brought on an SBA expert to talk about SBA loans. So I think our YouTube channel, we're really working on growing that.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Christine, and I'll see you in the next one.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks again.
If you enjoyed the show, hit the share button and send it over to one fellow marketer or entrepreneur. We work hard to make sure they'll thank you for it. Also, to get featured on the show, go to valuetizing.com and apply to become our next guest. Until next time, keep valuetizing.